When everyone else gave up the evacuation, sirens had been silent for 3 days now. Chief Engineer Maya Chen stood alone in the command center of the prototype warship Eternal Vigil, watching the last transport ships disappear into the darkness of space. Earth's surrender to the Zephyrian Empire was complete, and humanity's military had abandoned everything the aliens considered worthless. Maya pressed her palm against the cold metal console. The Eternal Vigil had been deemed obsolete by both human command and their new alien overlords. 20 years of her life's work, dismissed as scrap metal, the ship's experimental quantum drive system, her revolutionary armor plating, the adaptive weapons arrays she had designed from scratch, all of it labeled as inferior technology, by creatures who had never bothered to truly understand what they were looking at. "Ma'am, the last shuttle is requesting final boarding call." Tech specialist Alex Rivera's voice echoed through the empty corridors. At barely 22, Alex was the youngest member of the skeleton crew that had volunteered to stay behind for the final shutdown procedures. Maya turned from the viewport, reflection ghost-like in the reinforced glass. "Tell them we're not coming." Alex's eyes widened. "Ma'am, but the Zephyrians have classified this ship as non-operational. They'll probably scrap it for materials. Let them try." Maya's voice carried a steel that surprised even her. "This ship isn't non-operational. She's sleeping, and I'm not about to let 20 years of innovation die because some scaled bureaucrats can't read an energy signature properly." Dr. Sarah Okafor emerged from the research bay, her xenobiology equipment packed in a single bag. "Maya, I've studied their technology for months during the occupation. Their quantum understanding is actually quite limited. They rely on brute force rather than elegant engineering, which is exactly why they missed what makes the Eternal Vigil special." Maya moved to the central command console, her fingers dancing across controls that had been gathering dust for months. "Alex, begin startup sequence for the quantum core." "But ma'am, we were ordered to power everything down permanently. We were ordered to prepare for abandonment." "I never agreed to abandon anything." Maya's smile was sharp as a blade. "Besides, our orders came from a government that no longer exists. As far as I'm concerned, we're free agents now." The ship's systems hummed to life with a sound like singing. Crystal. Lights flickered on throughout the corridors, and the artificial gravity stabilized with a gentle pulse. The Eternal Vigil had been built using hybrid technology that combined human engineering with theoretical physics that pushed the boundaries of known science. Maya had spent years integrating quantum mechanics with traditional propulsion, creating something that defied easy classification. "Sarah, what's our status on life support and provisions?" Maya asked, settling into the captain's chair that had never been officially assigned to anyone. "We have enough supplies for 12 people for about 6 months, assuming we can maintain the hydroponic gardens." Sarah checked her tablet. "But Maya, there are only 4 of us. What exactly are you planning?" The 4th crew member appeared as if summoned by the question. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb had been the ship's security officer before the surrender. A grizzled veteran with more scars than stories. He'd refused evacuation on grounds that someone needed to keep the lights on. Now he stood in the doorway with a knowing look. "She's planning to make the Empire regret calling us obsolete," Webb said with grim satisfaction. "Aren't you, Chief?" Maya nodded slowly. "The Zephyrians conquered us because they had superior numbers and established technology. But they don't understand innovation. They don't grasp that humans don't just build tools. We build dreams, and then make them real." Alex pulled up the ship's schematics on the main display. "The quantum drive system is unlike anything in their fleet. If we can get it fully operational, we could theoretically outmaneuver anything they have." Theoretically, Sarah emphasized. "Maya, this ship was never fully tested. The prototype phase was cut short when the Empire arrived. Then we'll test it in the field." Maya stood, her reflection multiplying in the polished surfaces around the command center. "Webb, what's our weapon status? Adaptive plasma arrays are functional but untested. The experimental shield harmonics are online, and the quantum torpedo. Tubes ... double quotes." Webb grinned. "Now let's just say they're going to be very surprised." Maya walked to the communications console. For months, She'd been monitoring scattered transmissions from human colonies that had gone dark after the Empire's occupation. Not destroyed, the Zephyrians were too practical for genocide, but silenced, their communications jammed or monitored. "Are others out there?" she said, activating the ship's long-range sensors. "Survivors, resistance cells, people who never accepted the surrender." The sensor display lit up with faint signals, coded transmissions that used pre-war human encryption. Maya's heart raced as she realized the scope of what they were seeing. "My God," Sarah whispered. "There are dozens of them, maybe hundreds. The Empire thinks they've pacified human space because the government surrendered," Maya said. "But governments aren't people, and people don't stay quiet forever." Alex's fingers flew over his console. "I'm detecting at least 47 distinct signal sources. Now, mining stations, colony ships, even some military units that went dark instead of surrendering." "They're waiting," Webb observed, "waiting for someone to make the first move." Maya felt something shift inside her chest, a sensation like tumblers falling into place in a complex lock. "Then let's give them something to rally around." She activated the ship's quantum communications array, a system that could broadcast instantaneously across vast distances by manipulating quantum entanglement. It was technology the Empire had dismissed as theoretical nonsense. "This is Chief Engineer Maya Chen aboard the prototype vessel Eternal Vigil." She broadcast on all human emergency frequencies. "To all survivors, all resistance cells, all humans who refuse to accept alien rule, we are still here. We're still fighting, and we are coming for them." The response was immediate. Coded acknowledgments flooded in from across human space. Mining stations reported they were still operational and hidden. Colony ships revealed they had been playing dead while gathering intelligence. Even some military units that had supposedly been destroyed checked in with coordinates and status reports. "It's working," Alex said, his voice filled with wonder. "They're coordinating. They've been waiting for someone to give them hope." Maya settled back into the command chair, feeling the weight of responsibility and possibility. "Sarah, begin analyzing all available data on Zephyrian technology. Focus on weaknesses, blind spots, anything that doesn't make sense." "Already on it," Sarah replied, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. "Their quantum understanding really is primitive compared to what we've achieved here. They use quantum effects, but they don't truly manipulate quantum states. Which means this ship can do things their sensors can't properly detect or predict." Sarah's smile was brilliant. "Maya, I think they literally cannot comprehend how our quantum drive works. To them, it probably looks like magic." Webb checked the weapons systems. All arrays show green. The adaptive plasma cannons are synchronized with the quantum targeting system. "We're as ready as we'll ever be." Maya looked around at her small crew. 4 people against a galactic empire. By any rational measure, it was suicide. But rationality had never been humanity's strongest suit. What they had instead was stubbornness, creativity, and an absolute refusal to accept defeat. "Alex, plot a course for the Kepler mining station." They reported Empire supply convoys passing through their sector. "Aye, ma'am." "Quantum drive is ready." "For activation," Maya paused, her hand hovering over the final activation control. Once they left Earth's orbit, there would be no going back. They would be pirates, terrorists, rebels, depending on who was writing the history books. "For the record," she said to her crew, "this is completely insane." "Wouldn't have it any other way," Webb replied.
"Our Earth is the best science always," Sarah added.
Alex just grinned. "Let's show them what obsolete human technology can do." Maya pressed the control. The Eternal Vigil's quantum drive engaged with a sound like reality tearing, and the ship vanished from normal space in a cascade of impossible light. When they reappeared, they would no longer be refugees from a defeated world. They would be humanity's answer to an empire that had forgotten one. Crucial fact about humans: they never stayed down for long. Behind them, Earth continued its orbit, officially conquered and pacified. But somewhere in the quantum foam between dimensions, a prototype warship, and it's impossible. Crew were about to remind the galaxy that humans had never been very good at accepting the impossible. The war wasn't over it had just begun. Ghost in the Machine 3 weeks after leaving Earth's orbit. The Eternal Vigil had become a ghost story whispered through Zephyrian military channels. Supply convoys reported phantom attacks by an unidentified vessel that appeared from nowhere, struck with impossible precision, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The attacks were surgical, targeted, and left behind only empty cargo holds and very confused alien crews. Maya Chen stood in the ship's modified cargo bay, now converted into a strategic command center. Holographic displays showed the positions of every known Empire patrol, supply route, and communication relay within 50 light-years. The intelligence network they'd built with the scattered human survivors was proving more valuable than any weapon system. Convoy Delta-7-7 just dropped out of quantum space, reported Alex Rivera from his sensor station. 3 heavy freighters, standard escort pattern, are carrying quantum processors bound for the Arcturus command station. Dr. Sarah Okafor looked up from her analysis console. Those processors are critical for their long-range communications. Without them, the Arcturus sector would be effectively isolated from Empire command. Perfect. Maya studied the tactical display. Webb, take us to intercept position. Silent approach. Quantum masking engaged. Chief Petty Officer Webb nodded from the weapons console. Adaptive plasma arrays are charged and ready. The new targeting protocols are running smoothly. The Eternal Vigil slipped through space like a shadow-given form. The ship's quantum drive allowed it to exist in a state of controlled uncertainty, making it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. To the Zephyrian escorts, the void around them remained empty and peaceful, right up until the moment their shields collapsed under weapons fire they never saw coming. Direct hits on all 3 escorts, Webb reported with satisfaction. Their shields are down, weapons offline. No casualties. Their crews are unconscious from the neural disruptor pulse. Maya had insisted on non-lethal tactics whenever possible. Dead Zephyrians became martyrs and motivated the Empire's forces. Confused, humiliated Zephyrians were much more useful for spreading fear and uncertainty. Alex, begin cargo transfer. Sarah, monitor their communications. I want to know what they're reporting back to command. The operation proceeded with mechanical precision. Eternal Vigil's modified transporters could selectively beam cargo through standard shields. Another impossibility that the Empire's technology couldn't explain or defend against. Within minutes, the quantum processors were safely aboard, leaving behind empty cargo holds and very bewildered alien crews. Ma'am, Alex said, his voice tight with excitement. I'm picking up something else. There's a human life sign aboard the lead freighter. Maya's blood chilled. Prisoner. Negative. The signature is ... strange, like someone who's been hiding. In the ship's systems for weeks. Sarah frowned at her readings. That's impossible. Empire freighters are heavily monitored. No one could hide aboard one for that long. Unless they were very, very good at staying invisible, Webb muttered. Maya made her decision. Transport him directly to the medical bay. Full isolation protocol until we know what we're dealing with. The figure that materialized on the medical bay's transport pad was human, but barely recognizable as such. Thin to the point of gauntness, with wild hair and clothes that looked cobbled together from ship components. He stood with the careful balance of someone who had spent too long. In zero gravity, when he looked up, Maya's heart nearly stopped. She knew those eyes, even sunken and haunted as they were. Captain James Morrison, she whispered. Morrison had been presumed dead during the Empire's initial assault on the Titan defense platform. His ship, the heavy cruiser Defiant, had been destroyed with all hands, while buying time for civilian evacuations. Maya had attended his memorial service before the surrender. Hello, Maya, Morrison said, his voice rough from disuse. I hear you've been making some noise in my absence. Jim, how are you alive? How did you get aboard that freighter? Morrison's laugh was sharp and bitter. Turns out reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. The Defiant's quantum core didn't detonate when the ship was destroyed. It created a localized space-time bubble. I've been drifting in and out of normal space-time for months, hitchhiking on Empire ships and stealing supplies. Sarah stepped forward with her medical scanner. That's impossible. The quantum effects alone should have killed you. Yes. But human physiology is apparently more adaptable than anyone realized. Morrison submitted to the scan with weary patience. I've been existing in a state of quantum flux, phasing in and out of reality. It's not pleasant, but it has its advantages. Maya stared at her former colleague, her mind racing through the implications. Jim, if you can control that ability, ... I can't control it exactly, but I've learned to work with it, Morrison demonstrated, by slowly fading until he was nearly transparent, then solidifying again. I've been using it to gather intelligence on Empire operations. Did you know they're planning something big? Alex looked up from his console. And we need to move. Empire reinforcements are responding to the convoy's distress call. Take us out. Standard withdrawal pattern. Maya turned back to Morrison. Jim, what kind of something big? Morrison's expression darkened. They're calling it the Final Pacification Protocol. The Empire's high command is getting tired of these ghost attacks. They're planning to make an example that will end human resistance permanently. What kind of example? They're going to destroy New Geneva. Maya felt the deck shift slightly as the Eternal Vigil jumped to quantum space, carrying them away from the scene of their latest victory. But the triumph felt hollow now. New Geneva was one of humanity's most important colony worlds, home to over 50 million people. Why New Geneva? Sarah asked. Because it's symbolic, Morrison replied. The first successful human colony outside the Sol system. If they can break the people's connection to that symbol, they believe human resistance will collapse. Webb's voice came over the intercom from the bridge. Ma'am, we're receiving priority transmissions from the resistance network. Something's got everyone scared? Maya rushed to the command center, Morrison following with his strange phasing gait. The communication displays were alive with frantic messages from every human outpost in their network. They're mobilizing, Alex reported. Empire fleets are converging on the New Geneva system from 6 different sectors. It's the largest military buildup since the original invasion. Maya sank into the command chair, the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. How long do we have? Based on their movement patterns, maybe 4 days before the attack begins, Sarah calculated. Morrison stepped forward, his form flickering slightly. Maya, with respect, this ship can't take on an entire Empire fleet. Even with all, it's impossible. Technology? No, Maya agreed. But we're not just one ship anymore. She activated the quantum communications array, broadcasting on all resistance frequencies. This is Eternal Vigil to all human forces. Code Black authorization. The Empire is moving against New Geneva. This is not a drill. The responses came immediately. Mining stations reported they could provide raw materials. Colony ships offered their industrial fabricators. Even the scattered military units that had been hiding in the outer systems checked in with ships, weapons, and personnel. There are more of us than I thought, Alex said, wonder in his voice. There always were, Morrison observed. They were just waiting for someone to give them direction. Maya stood, feeling the familiar sensation of tumblers falling into place. Sarah, I need everything you can tell me about Empire quantum technology. Weaknesses, blind spots, anything we can exploit. I've been analyzing their systems for weeks, Sarah replied. Their quantum understanding is fundamentally flawed. They use quantum effects as tools, but they don't grasp the underlying principles. They can't adapt or innovate. They can only apply predetermined solutions, which means if we can create a problem they've never encountered before, they won't know how to solve it. Sarah's smile was brilliant and slightly terrifying. Maya, I think I know how to turn their own quantum communications against them. Morrison nodded slowly. The quantum cascade effect. If you could destabilize their communication network at the quantum level, their entire fleet coordination would collapse, Maya finished. They'd be fighting blind and deaf. Alex looked up from his calculations. But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need to channel the quantum output of multiple ships simultaneously. Then we build a network, Maya decided. Every human ship, every resistant cell, every survivor who still has fight left in them. We link them all together through quantum entanglement. Webb's voice carried a note of admiration. You want to turn the entire human resistance into a single coordinated weapon. Not a weapon, Maya corrected. A statement. The Empire thinks they've conquered us because they destroyed our governments and scattered our fleets. But they never understood what they were really fighting. She looked around at her crew, at Morrison, with his impossible quantum existence, at the displays showing dozens of human outposts ready to risk everything for a chance to strike back. They weren't fighting ships or governments or even worlds. They were fighting the human spirit. And that, Maya smiled, has never been very good at staying conquered. The Eternal Vigil hummed through quantum space toward New Geneva, no longer alone. Behind them, across human space, a network of survivors began to wake up and remember what they were fighting for. The Empire had made their first mistake by underestimating human technology. They were about to make their last mistake by underestimating human determination. The Empire's reckoning Admiral Kethver stood on the command deck of the Imperial Dreadnought Dominance, watching through the viewport as his fleet assembled in the space around New Geneva. 237 ships of the line, representing the largest military force the Zephyrian Empire had deployed since the conquest of the Andromedans 50 years ago. It should have been a moment of supreme satisfaction. Instead, he felt a growing unease. Status report on the ghost ship incidents, he commanded his intelligence officer. 17 confirmed attacks in the past 3 weeks, sir. Always the same pattern, impossible approach vectors. Weapons that penetrate our shields without triggering defensive systems. And complete disappearance before our response forces arrive. Kethver's scaled hide rippled with irritation. Prototype vessel cannot be responsible for this level of disruption. No, sir, but our analysts believe it represents something more dangerous than simple piracy. The attacks are too coordinated, too precise. They're building to something. On the surface of New Geneva below, 50 million humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their world had been selected for an object lesson in imperial power. The plan was elegant in its simplicity: demonstrate overwhelming force, destroy all military and industrial infrastructure, relocate the population to labor camps. Within a generation, New Geneva would be just another imperial resource extraction site. But first, they had to deal with the ghost ship. Sir, the sensor operator's voice cracked with alarm. Contact bearing 0 Mark 73, single vessel, approaching at impossible velocity. Kethver turned to the tactical display. A single dot moved across the screen. Its approach vector. Defying every known law of physics? Impossible. Nothing can maintain those acceleration rates without tearing itself apart. The dot continued its approach, and as it drew closer, the ship's sensors began to register details that made no sense. The vessel appeared to be phasing in and out of normal space-time, existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. That's our ghost, Kethver said grimly. All ships, battle formation Delta, focus fire on approach vector 73.
Ow.
200 Imperial warships turned their weapons toward the approaching anomaly. Plasma cannons charged, quantum torpedoes armed. Shield disruptors locked onto target. The combined firepower was enough to sterilize a small moon. Fire, the space around the ghost ship, erupted in destructive energy. When the weapon's discharge cleared, the ship was gone. Direct hit confirmed, the weapons officer reported.
Target!
Destroyed. Kethver allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Could signal all ships to begin bombardment of Sir. The sensor operator's voice was pure panic now. The ghost ship is inside our formation. The tactical display showed the impossible truth. The single vessel had somehow appeared in the exact center of the Imperial fleet, surrounded by 237 enemy ships. It should have been suicide. Instead, it was something far worse. Aboard the Eternal Vigil, Maya Chen watched the Empire fleet's confusion with grim satisfaction. Morrison's quantum phasing ability had given them the key insight they needed. The ship could exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, making it effectively immune to conventional weapons. All human ships, report status, she broadcast. On the quantum communication network, the responses flooded in from across human space. Mining ships had positioned themselves at key quantum resonance points. Colony vessels had synchronized their industrial fabricators. Even individual survivors, with nothing but personal communicators, had linked into the network. Network established, Alex reported. 47 ships, 112 stations, over 3,000 individual nodes. 8. All quantum entangled and synchronized. Sarah looked up from her science station, her face flushed with excitement and terror. Maya, the quantum cascade is ready. But once we trigger it, there's no going back. The effect will propagate through their entire communication network. Casualties? Maya asked. Minimal. The cascade will disrupt their quantum-based systems, but it won't harm biological beings directly. Their ships will be dead in space, but their crews will survive. Maya nodded. She had no desire to commit genocide, even against an occupying force. But the Empire needed to learn that humanity was not as helpless as they assumed. Jim, are you ready? Morrison stood at the auxiliary control station, his form flickering between solid and translucent. The quantum phase generators are synchronized. With the ship's drive, I can extend my phasing ability to the entire vessel for about 60 seconds. That should be enough. Maya looked around at her crew, at the displays showing the massive enemy fleet surrounding them. Everyone ready? A chorus of acknowledgments came from her small crew and from hundreds of human voices across the quantum network. Maya took a deep breath and placed her hand on the cascade activation control. For New Geneva, for Earth, for every human who refused to stay conquered. She pressed the control. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The Eternal Vigil became the focal point for a quantum cascade that propagated through space faster than light, following the quantum entanglement threads that connected every ship in the Empire fleet. Their communication systems, navigation, arrays, weapons, targeting, even life support. Everything that relied on quantum effects simply stopped working. 237. Imperial warships found themselves floating dead in space, their crews alive but completely helpless. But Maya wasn't finished. Alex, open a channel to the Empire flagship. Full broadcast, all frequencies. The main display activated, showing Admiral Kethfer's scaled features twisted in rage and confusion. Behind him, sparks flew from overloaded consoles as his crew struggled with systems that no longer obeyed the laws of physics as they understood them. Admiral Maya said calmly, "I am Chief Engineer Maya Chen of the Human Resistance. Your fleet is now disabled. Your weapons are offline. Your communications are severed from Empire Command." Kethfer's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Our technology is superior to anything humans possess." "Superior?" Maya laughed. "Admiral, you've been using quantum effects for centuries without understanding what they really are. You treat them like any other tool, never realizing that quantum mechanics isn't about tools, it's about possibilities." She gestured to Sarah, who activated a new display showing the quantum cascade's propagation pattern. It had spread far beyond the immediate fleet. Following quantum communication links back to Empire command posts, relay stations, even the Imperial homeworld itself. What you're seeing is the quantum cascade effect. Every ship, every station, every quantum-based system in your empire is now operating under new rules. Our rules? Kethfer's scaled hide had gone pale. "You're bluffing?" "The scope of such an effect would be galactic," Maya finished. "Yes, Admiral. Every Zephyrian military installation, every communication relay, yes, every quantum-based system in your empire is now linked to our network, and we can shut them down anytime we choose." The display showed the reality of their situation. Across Zephyrian space, Imperial forces were reporting system failures, communication blackouts, and complete loss of coordination. The most advanced military force in the galaxy had been reduced to a collection of isolated, helpless ships. "But that's not why I'm calling," Maya continued. "I'm calling to offer you terms." Kethfer's laugh was bitter. "Terms? We're a single ship against an empire?" "No," Maya corrected. "We're an idea against a system. And ideas, Admiral, are much harder to kill than ships." Morrison stepped into view, his quantum-phased form clearly visible on the transmission. Admiral, meet Captain James Morrison, officially dead, according to your records. Turns out human adaptability extends far beyond what your science predicted? Sarah joined them, her scientific equipment visible behind her. I'm Dr. Sarah Okafor. I've spent months studying your technology. Did you know that your quantum understanding hasn't advanced in over 2 centuries? You've been using the same basic principles without innovation or adaptation. Alex appeared last, young and eager. And I'm tech specialist Alex Rivera. I've been upgrading our systems with principles your scientists haven't even discovered yet. We're not using your technology, Admiral. We're using technology you can't even comprehend. Maya stepped forward. Here are our terms. Full withdrawal from all human worlds. Recognition of human independence. And most importantly, a new understanding between our species based on mutual respect rather than conquest. Kethver was silent for a long moment, his alien features unreadable. Finally, he spoke. And if we refuse? Then your empire joins the long list of civilizations that learned too late not to underestimate human determination. Maya's smile was sharp as a blade. We've proven we can disable your technology. Would you like us to demonstrate what else we can do? On cue, every human ship and station in the network powered up their weapons simultaneously. The combined energy signature was visible across light years, a beacon that announced to the galaxy that humanity was no longer hiding. Kethver stared at the display showing thousands of human vessels, all linked through quantum entanglement, all capable of coordinating their actions instantaneously across vast distances. For the first time in his long military career, he felt genuine fear. You would turn the entire galaxy against us, he said. We would turn the galaxy toward justice, Maya replied. The choice is yours, Admiral. Peace through understanding, or chaos through stubbornness. The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Then Kethver straightened, his military bearing intact. Despite his defeat, I will relay your terms to Emperor Vextal. You do that? Maya said. And Admiral? Tell the Emperor that humanity has always been willing to coexist peacefully with other species. But we've never been willing to be slaves. The transmission ended. Around them, the Imperial fleet remained motionless, their crews undoubtedly working frantically to restore systems that operated on principles they didn't understand. Maya sank into the command chair, suddenly exhausted. Think it will work? Morrison, now solid again, placed a hand on her shoulder. Maya, 3 months ago, humanity was defeated and scattered. Today, we just disabled the most powerful military force in the galaxy using nothing but ingenuity and determination. I'd say it's working already. Sarah looked up from her console. I'm monitoring Imperial communications. There's chaos throughout their command structure. They can't coordinate any kind of response. Alex grinned from his station. And the human resistance network is growing by the hour. Every colony, every outpost, every survivor who thought they were alone is reaching out to join us. Maya looked out at the stars, at the disabled Empire fleet, at the world of New Geneva spinning peacefully below. Somewhere in the distance, messages were racing toward the Imperial capital at faster-than-light speeds, carrying word of humanity's impossible victory. She thought about her old teacher at the engineering academy, who had always said that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't energy or matter, but human refusal to accept the impossible. Today they had proven him right. Set course for Earth, she ordered. It's time to go home. The Eternal Vigil turned away from the disabled Imperial fleet and jumped to quantum space, carrying with it the proof that humanity's greatest weapon had never been its technology. It had always been its spirit. Behind them, Admiral Kethver stared out at the stars and began composing the most difficult message of his career. A surrender to a species his empire had dismissed as primitives. The age of human conquest was over. The age of human respect had begun. Epilogue 6 months later. Chief Engineer Maya Chen stood in the rebuilt halls of Earth's Planetary Council, watching delegates from across human space debate the terms of the new Galactic Cooperation Treaty. The Zephyrian Empire had formally recognized human independence. and other alien civilizations were rushing to establish diplomatic relations with the species that had achieved the impossible.